Patrick Mahomes talked yesterday. There's a new massive Animal Crossing update out. I feel like between those two things, we'll have something to discuss for the next hour here on Everything Else. I'm Joshua Brisco. It's all produced by Tucker D. Franklin, brought to you by KC Cannabis Company, live here on the KCSN YouTube channel, and available wherever you get your podcast. That's the rundown where you can get this show. If you're in the chat live with us right now, thanks for joining us here on this Friday, approximately noon o'clock. If you're listening later on, happy introduction to your weekend, perhaps. A divisional round of football games that should be, well, interesting, if nothing else. We'll talk about this with Tucker in a little bit, but we got such excellent football, or at least such excellent football games, which are two slightly different things. Excellent games down to the wire last weekend for Wild Card Weekend. Obviously, the stakes are even higher this weekend, and man, I've got some internal conflict on Bills Broncos. Not about my rooting interest, to be clear. I am considering moving to Orchard Park for the next 24 hours just so I can fully claim my Bills fandom. There is virtually nothing that I can imagine within a reasonable world that would cause me to root for the Denver Broncos. That will not be happening in my basement tomorrow afternoon. But I am conflicted about where I think these four games are going to go. We'll talk about that with Tucker after a break in a little while. But I do want to start with some of the Chiefy news that we have from these last couple of days. LC Defense says Broncos Bills is a win-win for Chiefs fans. I don't know if I agree with that. I also don't know if this is actually my sister, Chloe. It seems very possible in the chat. If that is you, Chloe. Hi, Chloe. Thanks for being here. That's very exciting. If it's someone impersonating my sister, wow, what a weird thing to do. Either way, pretty funny. I don't know if Bills Broncos is win-win or lose-lose. I don't have any real animosity towards the Bills organization or Bills fans. I like to root for the downtrodden fan base to get their bit of uplifting because I know what that felt like. But as Tucker and Matt Verderam, I believe, discussed in today's episode of That Football Show, which I have not yet heard, and I'm looking forward to sitting down with a nice cup of tea and just a fireplace that will be as hot as the takes that I know made it into that episode from some things Tucker told me. I know that we can have like a narrative win-win on Bills Broncos. Then one of them has to be in the AFC Championship game. And one of them is playing the Texans or Patriots. It's just kind of an icky AFC. But anyway, like I said, we'll get to that after we chat through some of the Chiefs developments from yesterday. A few of these things we talked about over on Only Weird Games, me and Seth Kaiser, so if you want to hear Seth's thoughts on it, that's where you can do it. But if you want to hear my thoughts, don't go anywhere. The news of the day was that Patrick Mahomes spoke to the media over Zoom for the first time since his season-ending knee injury, ACL and LCL, and he said his goal, the operative word here, is to be ready for week one. Now that is far from a guarantee. That is far from the countdown to week one where he's just gonna be available there. It makes a lot of sense that would be his goal. The only thing that I really am taking from that as borderline gospel is that we know even more clearly now. We don't have to couch quite as much when we talk about how the Chiefs are going to operate without him this offseason. Obviously, he'll be around the meeting rooms, and it sounds like he's going to be doing pretty much all of his rehab in Kansas City. I'm sure he'll end up, in Texas off and on for one thing or another, but it seems like he'll be based in the area as he goes through that process. Julie Freimeyer from the Chiefs, who's worked with him on all these other injuries that he's had. So his goal is to be ready for week one. That means, and rightfully so, his goal is not to be ready to install offensive changes in training camp in St. Joe. It's going to be delayed beyond that. That's a tough pill to swallow, one that I think we already knew was the case, but we have a more clarified timeline ever so slightly, where just Mahomes has now also, by putting that out there, not being ready for week 1 would be a little bit of a disappointment, at least for him. Now, look, if he comes back in week 5 and the Chiefs are 3-1 or whatever, life will be just fine. I don't want to start a panic if it seems like he's not going to be ready for the first week of the season, but that's his goal as a competitor, as a quarterback, as the leader of this team. It makes total sense that he would say his goal is to be back for week 1. So we have that in the light news category. We also have, from Sam McDowell of the Kansas City Star, some moves that we knew had happened, and then one more that was officially reported out. I guess not even officially. That was pointed out, perhaps officially, by one Tucker Franklin, and then reported out by Sam McDowell and others. McDowell said, there are 4 changes to the Chiefs coaching staff so far, per sources. They have fired running backs coach Todd Pinkston and wide receivers coach Connor Embry. Louis Adazio chose to move on for the OL job at UNLV. Alex Whittingham has joined the Michigan staff. Could be more after the carousel settles, but that's where it stands for now. A bunch of things there that are interesting. The new news... Sorry. I don't know if that's copywritten or not. The new development from McDowell there is that we have the official word there that Todd Pinkston is out. The 2 position coaches we talked about the most this year were Todd Pinkston and Connor Embry, running backs and wide receivers coach, respectively, despite the fact that Todd Pinkston was an NFL wide receiver. Whatever. You don't have to play the position to coach the position. It's just weird. It would have been really hard for me to build an argument from the outside, at least, on behalf of Todd Pinkston and or Connor Embry, just from what happened to their position groups over these last couple of years. I mentioned this on Weird Games yesterday, while it seems like there's extremely little chance that the Chiefs will move on from Dave Toub, I think if you are one of Andy Reid's guys, as his staff is built up of his guys, if you're someone that Andy Reid either brought in for a new opportunity or someone who's been with Andy Reid for a very long time, you're going to have to really fall on your face a couple times in a row before he moves on from you. I think that's a general rule of thumb. I've never worked for or been fired by Andy Reid, but that kind of seems like the way that things tend to go. And understandably, you don't want to lose a good coach because you burnt a bridge after one poor season and all of that, blah, blah, blah. You get it. The running backs and wide receivers rooms, if anything, got worse this year, even as the talent improved in the wide receiver room, and the running back room just never showed anything other than fully formed veteran running back Kareem Hunt being the guy that he was. Pacheco, obviously not fully healthy, but seemed like he took a step back. Brashard Smith just never got the running back development that you wanted to see. So I think it makes sense. I never want to celebrate people losing their jobs. That's true at cut down day at the end of training camp. It's true when coaches get fired, but Louis Adazio and Alex Whittingham have new jobs. Connor Embry can find a coaching staff somewhere that'll take him at some level, and he can keep coaching football if he wants. Todd Pinkston, long NFL career. I'm sure he will continue to have coaching opportunities. Wish them all the best. Very hard to argue that they did a good job with the Chiefs from the outside. And if they did a good job interiorly, I don't think they're being moved on from here. The other part of that that's of course interesting is McDowell clarifying. McDowell's like a real honest-to-goodness reporter, right? This isn't just him kind of guessing that there could be more changes. McDowell noting that there could be more changes after the carousel settles implies what I think is good news. I don't know if it's going to be Eric Bieniemy or Mike Kafka or Cliff Kingsbury. I don't think it's going to be anybody other than those 3 guys. If I had to bet right now, that would be the trifecta that seems most likely to me. But what it seems like the Chiefs have done there is say, look, man, Joe Blameyer could be the offensive coordinator next year, and Connor Embry and Todd Pinkston are not returning in their roles. Good. Be definitive and make your choices on the information you've got. If Eric Bieniemy comes back from Chicago, and frankly, this would make me happier about a potential Eric Bieniemy hiring. If Bieniemy comes over from Chicago and says, hey, I've got a coach who I think could really develop some young wide receivers. Hey, I'm Eric Bieniemy. I know who I think should coach the running back room, and it's someone who I met in Chicago, or it's someone who I know from elsewhere. I think that would make it a little bit more of an interesting, diversified coaching staff in terms of where these guys are coming from. Obviously, Bieniemy and Andy Reid are very much in lockstep on what they want offensively, but we've talked about getting some more voices in the room. More on that in a minute. I think that would be an interesting way to do it. That could be true for Kafka. It would certainly be true for Cliff Kingsbury. If it was to be Cliff, I imagine that he would probably have more than 2 coaches he'd like to bring with him. So all that to say, the idea that there could be more after the carousel settles, and heck, maybe that means that Matt Nagy's getting the Cardinals head coaching job, and maybe he wants Joe Blemeyer to be his offensive coordinator in Arizona. And that means a forced change in the carousel. So there still are more decisions to be made there. Which brings us to what Mahomes talked about yesterday. We got 2 clips here, I think were the 2 most interesting things. There was also a good answer to a question from our own Herbie Tiopi here of KCSN, where he asked, and Mahomes kind of went through the what went wrong last season, and Mahomes talked about the compounding mistakes and the red zone interceptions and the inconsistencies there, and I think those are certainly all valid, and we've talked about those quite a bit. But the 2 things I thought were most interesting were in these 2 clips that we're going to play for you here today. Starting with this question where Mahomes was asked, what does the offense need to do during this rare bit of long downtime?
I mean, obviously there's names out there, but I think with especially how many vacancies there is I mean, you just got to dive deep into that scheme evaluation and see what teams are seeing against us. I think the one part about having so much success is teams watch a lot of film on you, and so they try to have good game plans on how to combat what you do and what you've done well. And you saw that this year where teams were very conscious of some of the plays that we've hit for a long time. And so we have to find ways to counteract that and kind of go at teams and be able to utilize that and make more explosive plays. I think if we can get back to some of that stuff, as well as being consistent on a down-to-down basis, that'll be stuff that we got to continue to get better at. And I think there's minor tweaks, but at the same time, you got to look at the entire picture and see if we can be better at every single area. So we'll see where we get to after watching the film, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes in order to go out there and have success.
Couple little things in there. One being on the back half, he talks about, it kind of re-emphasizing the not that far away, not that far off, just a tick off, that kind of thing. But that there is room to improve everything. I think that's noteworthy. But I think the best part of that, the most interesting part of that, the thing that made Seth raise his eyebrows when he heard it for the first time yesterday, there's a lot of film on you. Other teams have watched a lot of film on you. You have these plays that you've hit over the years. Those are the calling cards. Those are the building blocks, the foundational things that have made your offense what they are, what it is. Those are the plays that have made your offense so deadly in so many different iterations, even as some of the personnel has changed. They were great, but they're not surprises anymore. They're pretty fundamental to the identity of what this offense has been. And so it's time to freshen some of that up. So I think that's interesting. I think this next clip is even more interesting. Great man and Fat Bear enthusiast Matt Derrick asked Patrick Mahomes if the Chiefs were to have a change at offensive coordinator, because Matt Nagy right now is still under contract, and I think that might, after this weekend, maybe Monday, we'll have actual news on that front. But if the Chiefs were to have a change at offensive coordinator, what would Mahomes want in a new OC?
I mean, obviously there's names out there, but I think with especially how many vacancies there is at the head coaching job, you kind of have to let that all play out to see how you kind of build the staff. But I don't know, Coach Reid, if Coach Nagy is able to get another job, a head coaching job, that he'll have a good plan of who he wants to bring in. But for me, I just want someone that loves football, that cares about football, that wants to give everything they can to win, to hold people accountable, and then to bring new ideas every single day. I think that's something that we have to continue to do if you want to continue to be great in this league. Is you have to continue to evolve and get better and better, and that's something that we will try to do here. And I want to get back to that winning culture of being accountable to each other and going out there and playing great football every single day, practice or game.
couple things in there that I think might click up your antenna if you're a person listening right now who is a regular of Chiefs press conferences, and then a couple things that I don't know, we might over dissect, but we haven't heard from Patrick Mahomes in quite a long time. It's probably the last time we're gonna hear from him in a little while. So let's dissect a couple of the word choices, a couple of things there. One thing, and I saw a couple people talking about this on socials, and so I don't know who kind of kicked this idea off, but I do think that there is a little bit of a jump scare, perhaps, if you're not excited about the potential of an Eric Bieniemy rehiring as the Chiefs offensive coordinator. Accountability is kind of an Eric Bieniemy buzzword, either that he says or that comes up in conversations about what the Chiefs need or don't need at OC. Oh, they just need somebody to hold them accountable. They need an offensive coordinator who will light a fire and will keep them accountable during practice, during games. You make a mistake, Eric Bieniemy is yelling at you on the sideline. Accountable. So I saw some people being like, okay, so it is Bieniemy, right? And then I saw someone else note, look, the accountability thing, the word accountability, the buzzword there, that's come from Andy Reid a couple of times, but it comes from Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce often. Now, do I think that was instilled in them by Eric Bieniemy? Very likely. But they also seem to love Eric Bieniemy. Travis Kelce was talking about Eric Bieniemy on New Heights like a month ago, did the job he's doing in Chicago and whatnot. So that influence is legitimate. I don't think that's Mahomes saying, I'd like my next offensive coordinator to be Eric Bieniemy, and if it's not Eric Bieniemy, I quit. But it's interesting. And I think the more interesting part is saying it needs to be someone who brings new ideas every day. I'm going to take one half step back. I think most of the larger media and even in larger fan conversation about what the Chiefs need in their next offensive coordinator, what they need in their next offensive evolution, and what went wrong this year, I think most of the popular talking points are more or less correct, more or less on the right track. When you talk about the offense being stale or feeling like it's gotten a bit redundant, I think that's accurate. I also do still believe that there's a better chance that you're going to get new ideas from someone who hasn't been in the same proverbial, almost literal classroom for the last decade. The Chiefs like to hire from within and promote from the inside, and Andy Reid has this unbelievable coaching tree that stretches throughout the NFL and has influenced the game in so many ways. It's a healthy coaching tree that reflects on the roots of it, who Andy Reid learned from, and then I guess in this metaphor, the trunk being Andy Reid himself. It's really impressive, and it's going to leave him with one of the densest legacies in football history. Biggest trees, densest impact, a huge member of the story of American football. Can't tell without Andy Reid at this point. I do still think it's better to get the ideas from the outside. Or at least maybe easier right now. But the one thing that we've touched on here and there, but I want to be a little bit careful about, I don't think Andy Reid has run out of interest in new ideas. I don't think that his creativity has withered. I don't think that he's playing paper football at his desk instead of trying to draw up new things. I think it would be great to have somebody bring in some new ingredients for him to work with. But if you told me that it is Eric Bieniemy as the next offensive coordinator, if the Chiefs come out with some new concepts and building a new identity and take some things from the McVay or the Ben Johnson or the Shanahan worlds, that wouldn't surprise me one bit. If they do hire Eric Bieniemy and their running game does look more like what Chicago did this year, that's not going to be all because Eric Bieniemy came in and just made that law. It will be and always has been Andy Reid's offense. I would say for better or for worse, but almost always for better. The thing that I roll my eyes at is when I remember what feels like days ago, and was actually just a handful of years ago, when all of the bad things were Eric Bieniemy's fault. All of the good things were Andy Reid's credit. I've talked about this a bunch. Just make it about Andy Reid. Point it back to Andy Reid. After a season like this one, yes, there is a longer list of complaints that make their way to Andy Reid's desk because this season went that way. There is a long list of praise and a long line at the parade when things go well, presented to Andy Reid. So that's my half step back to what Mahomes said. There are different paths to refreshing the identity of this offense, injecting it with new ideas, and in Mahomes' words here, new ideas every day that help you evolve. You always have to be evolving. The NFL does not let you survive for very long if you're not evolving. There's also what he said at the very end that I think is kind of interesting. I really don't think this is definitive, but it's interesting. Mahomes talks about getting back to that winning, accountable culture. Look, he's probably just putting it that way because this last season was, by their own metrics, a tremendous failure. You go to the AFC Championship game at minimum every year as a starter. You're more likely to go to the Super Bowl than not. And when you get there, you're more likely to win it than not. Missing the playoffs is a failure. I don't know if there was a dip in accountability at One Arrowhead Drive. I don't know. I don't know if the practices didn't have the intensity they needed to have. In fact, I kind of doubt that was the core of all of this falling apart. But I did find some interesting turns of phrase in Mahomes' comments there about what he does want for the next phase of this Chiefs offense. It does need to evolve. It does need legitimate, fresh, new ideas on a daily basis. Because that's what it takes to succeed in the NFL. And Mahomes knows that. And Andy Reid knows that. Those guys have evolved together tremendously since 2018. Or 2017, really. Because some of that infrastructure was started. Those gears were turning, of course, when they drafted him. So I really kind of go back and forth on how optimistic I am about what this next evolution will look like. Because I can really see it going either way, and that's the scary part. The scary part is that I could see the Chiefs having a top 5 offense next year and it just going on, whoo! Okay, everything's all right. Wide receivers took a step up. Patrick Mahomes is back and looking good. Top 5 with Mahomes back, let's say, They end the season as a top 5 offense, make a playoff push. They're back in the AFC Championship game. Would not surprise me. But if they do kind of run it back, so to speak, and then things are just kind of stale and kind of stuck, especially as you're trying to do things without Mahomes for a while. We're not going to see him, as I mentioned, we're not going to see him in St. Joe. You're not going to have the Xavier-worthy Patrick Mahomes hype that's going to come out of those practices because it's not going to be Mahomes throwing him the ball. I could see this going in a bummer direction as well. I think that the two diverging paths will be easier to talk about when we do know who the offensive coordinator is, but that's where we are right now on January 16th. Not nearly enough dominoes have fallen to get the final word there on where the future of the offense is headed. I'll take a look through some of the comments here in a minute, and we'll bring Tucker in after I tell you about our friends at Kansas City Cannabis. They are a tremendous partner of ours, helping keep this show going the direction we want it to go, and they will get you pointed in the right direction. If you're interested in the cannabis experience, maybe you know exactly what you like, and you just are looking for great deals, great service, and a huge, incredible selection. Great news. I'll send you to KC Cannabis Company. Maybe you're a newbie. You don't know where you want to begin. You want to ask those bud tenders what's right for you. Great news. I got 5 locations for you, no less. KC North, Blue Springs, Kearney, Excelsior, and Lottawanna. They are by Kansas City, for Kansas City. They're not some big international conglomerate descending in Missouri as soon as the doors open. They are a part of this community, and they treat you as a part of the community as well. I really can't recommend them highly enough. They've got the absolute right people behind the glass, if you will, educating you, and the right people in charge. I'm a huge fan of the folks over at Kansas City Cannabis. You can check them out online at kccannabis.com.
Looking for premium products in Kansas City? Whether you're new to the world of dispensaries or a seasoned enthusiast, we've got just what you're looking for. Proudly Kansas City owned and operated, with 5 convenient locations in Kearney, Blue Springs, Excelsior Springs, KC North, and Lake Lottawanna. And our knowledgeable team can help educate and guide you so you can feel confident in every choice you make. Come see for yourself what makes us the most trusted name in Kansas City.
I do see, Tucker, if you'd like to go ahead, and I wasn't going to bring it back up, but as I was scrolling through the comment section, any statements you'd like to give on a bit of a false start on the original clip there?
Yeah, look, I just have to be better than that. On Only Weird Games yesterday, they were ordered differently, and they uploaded in a different order than what they did for Only Weird Games, and I didn't catch that before I did it. It's something that is an inexcusable mistake on my part, just to tick off. We're going to get back, we're going to clean it up, and we're going to make sure those things don't happen moving forward, but ultimately an inexcusable mistake.
I did throw a flag here just off camera. We will be moving you back. You're next. Actually, what you're gonna do, it's instead of moving you back 15 yards, you just have to sit in the StreamYard room alone for 15 minutes after the show's over. It's kind of like a detention sort of situation, I think. Yeah. Penalty box, maybe. I don't know. A couple things here from the comments I thought was interesting. DFizz says, sounds like Mahomes is saying we were predictable and boring, but in Mahomes speak, which is encouraging. I think there's a little bit of that there. I think at least predictable is fair. Ineffective is largely fair. And I do think, yes, Mahomes is not going to gaslight himself this offseason of like, no, God, I hope he's not doing this at least. Going, man, if I just would have made a couple more throws, this would have been fine. Right. A couple more, he could have been better. It wasn't a perfect season. Hitting a couple more of those deep balls would have helped, but it might have made you a fringe playoff team instead of a team picking 9. Maybe it gets you into the playoffs, and then you've got to be perfect for the rest of the way. And then Tiger Shark says, we have to officially wait on playoff teams candidates to be done before we can officially engage, correct? I don't think that is exactly right there, because, but the reason I'm highlighting it, just go, no, dumb comment, bad comment, Tucker ban him. No, what I think the case is here is that right now, Matt Nagy is the offensive coordinator. Andy Reid said a week or two ago that they couldn't do in-person interviews until the 19th, and that would involve, because there are coaches, and you'll remember the reason that I felt confident enough to even highlight this and say I don't think this is the case is because I remember the Chiefs being alive in the playoffs and getting the interview requests for Spags or Nagy or EB or whatever. So I think it's more about where the Chiefs stand now, and then because you can't interview someone, you can't officially interview someone for a position that's not currently open. So like the Dolphins had to fire Mike McDaniel before they could start having head coaching interviews there. So I think that's the direction there. Last 3 comments real quick here. My mom says, sun's out. Renee has highlighted your tattoos. And then Chloe has said again, Tucker, he's so cute. So this is just really, we're just gassing Tucker up today. He made a really cuttable mistake earlier in the show, and now you get heaped with praise. It's an unfair world.
It really is. It was a real fireable offense, in my opinion. But yeah, I've got the guns out today. I had a hoodie on, but what happened is I went to go feed Chungus before this started, and I didn't want to get Chungus all over the hoodie, and I was wearing this cutoff because I was gonna go to the gym, but I haven't yet, and I probably am going to after this, so I was kind of planning ahead at the same time. And I said, you know what? Let's shout out for the for Tarleton State Texans here. Let's show out for them and get after it.
You are in, I was going to say in every sense of the word, a Gruden grinder, but I decided to not say that because that isn't true. You are a Gruden grinder. Not in every sense of the word.
I appreciate that.
Anything from that Mahomes presser that I haven't already beaten to a pulp that stood out to you, or anything that has changed for you in these last several days on the off-season front, or are we just kind of waiting for those dominoes?
I think that's kind of we're a wait-and-see pattern, which is a pattern that we haven't been in for a long time as Chiefs fans, and so like that's something that it seems like, wow, how come like we're getting like a wake-up Veach, you know?
Yeah.
Like, come on. But there's really nothing to do at this point. And you mentioned the coordinator contract. I think at one point on that football show, I think on Monday, I was like, the Chiefs are the only team that hasn't interviewed for an opening. And Verdun were like, yeah, no, that's right. And then it was later that day I realized, oh, they don't technically have an opening.
Right.
So like that's the thing that's really tricky is that we all assume Matt Nagy to be elsewhere, whether that's an offensive coordinator elsewhere. They leaked out that his contract's already done. They leaked out that he wants to call plays as an offensive coordinator if he doesn't get a head coaching job. So that all sounds like he's not coming back. And we all have in our brain that he's not coming back. And I think everyone knows he's not coming back. But officially, he's still on the books. So that January 19th, which is Monday, will be an interesting day to see if anything happens in that regard. If he gets to be a head coach for the Tennessee Titans or the Arizona Cardinals or the Las Vegas Raiders or any of those teams. Like, none of those really seem like winning the jackpot, in my opinion, if I was an NFL head coach. But I'm not, and there's only 32 of them. So, like, you take one, take what you can get, I guess. But I think that it's very funny that this was the first time we heard from Mahomes since like his ACL injury. So obviously, naturally, human instinct, we are going to overanalyze everything that he had to say. And rightfully so, because that is our right as fans to do. But sometimes I think, and especially in these press conferences, you know, I see some comments here. I'm guilty of it too, of listening to Patrick Mahomes say we need fresh ideas and be like, oh, he means Cliff Kingsbury. That means
right.
Cliff Kingsbury's coming to the team. And I just kind of want us to pump our brakes here for a little bit. Let's slow the roll until we get like interviews for an opening or an actual opening before we really start to sow our wild oats. So that's kind of where I'm at. We're in a waiting pattern, which is something that the Chiefs, for an offseason, have never been in the past 5 years, ever since they've been going to the Super Bowl, because it's like, okay, season's done. Next week's the combine. It's like
right.
It's been like that. So we've been covering the AFC Championship game in Dallas, Texas, and Las Vegas, Nevada too. When we've been out at the East West Shrine Bowl. This year we don't get to do that. This year we're kind of focusing a little bit more on the draft stuff. People care a little bit more about the draft. I'm sure the front office cares a little bit more about the draft and everything that's going on in that regard too. So there's actually an off season, and I think for the first time since like 2014, Chiefs fans are actually going to feel what an offseason feels like.
I think that's a great addendum and a great button to put on it there, because you're right. We're all getting a little itchy, and I understand why, because you're right. It's been a very long time since we've just had a dull offseason January. So let's fill the time this way. Tucker, I talked about this a little bit with Nick on Monday's edition of the show. Can I interest you in A.J. Brown? Wait, silencing no further context right now. If I say A.J. Brown, 2026, Kansas City Chief, what's your knee-jerk reaction? 'Cause I think that's going to say a lot.
So obviously I would like A.J. Brown and Patrick Mahomes to play together. Like, that's just like, yeah, would I want that to happen? Sure. I know a lot of people are going to say like, oh, he's already been traded once in his career from Tennessee. There was kind of a locker room thing going on there. Now he's a locker
who won
room
that
thing
trade?
again.
The team that sent him away or the team that acquired him? Oh, interesting. What a thought.
Good point. I know that he doesn't seem to get along with Nick Sirianni, but who does?
Who does?
Who does? And would I like A.J. Brown to be a football player for my favorite team? Absolutely. He's a phenomenal wide receiver, and at one point was probably the best wide receiver in the league. That was probably pre-Justin Jefferson going absolutely berserk. I think there was a little bit of a slow time there than when A.J. Brown was the best wide receiver in the league. Looking up his cap number right now, I haven't done this yet. They do have a potential out in 2027.
And there's 5 void years on the end of that thing, which I think ends up being Philly's money. I think as an acquisition opportunity, I think it would work out okay for the team that acquires him.
Let me see. If he is traded before June 1st. This
The Eagles would have to eat a lot of money, which makes it tough. But
$20 million is what it looks like. Or no, $43 million. They would save $20 million. So they would still have to eat $43 million if they trade him this year. Yeah. But is he going to be that big of a cancer that makes it, you're like, all right, we'll pay you $43 million not to be here anymore. But yeah, his dead cap, if they just straight up cut him at $72 million, that is berserk bonkers.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but would I like him to be on there? Yeah, I just don't know how they can, I don't know how they can do that.
This is where I think it's interesting. His base salaries the next 3 years are all like $1 million because the Eagles do all of the Eagles books look so different than the Chiefs books that, again, to be clear, I'm not 100% sure how that would end up translating. But the reason I keep bringing him up and that I was curious about it from like the vibes perspective from you is that I understand people being like, I don't know, he seems like a headache. You used the word cancer. I think that's probably a little strong. The Chiefs sent a 3rd-round pick and change for Kadarius Toney, who was as big of a headache and never a quarter as good as A.J. Brown. So, like, I think the thing about it that does make sense to me, and where also, A.J. Brown's 28 years old. It was Ron Trade saying it makes 0 sense to be a more cost-controlled asset. It's not an extremely expensive aging one. Not extremely expensive if you're the acquiring team, and not as old as you think. Mm-hmm. You cannot get a wide receiver 1 for less than a premium unless you have a reason to buy low.
Right.
He's a little bit beyond the absolute peak of his powers. It's ending poorly in Philadelphia right now. I can't remember who was talking about this, but somebody somewhere said that the Chiefs need to find, Andy Reid needs to find his Terrell Owens, that it's time. Man, A.J. Brown could come do shirtless push-ups in my driveway, and I'd be like, you know what? Well, I'm not going to say a thing. I'm going to sit back and you do your thing and give this offense that kind of weapon. None of these moves are going to make 100% sense, because if so, these players would not be available. These conversations would not be accessible to you. I still think that there are other, we talked about Brian Thomas Jr. very briefly on Only Weird Games, I think, at one point. We talked about, like, man, I wish the Cardinals just would have totally cleaned house and see if Marvin Harrison moves on. I was texting about this earlier today with my friend Darren, the musical genius behind the music for this show, and he was like, what about Garrett Wilson? I was like, Darren, I would love Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson feels so Chiefy to me. I don't know what the Jets would require for him, and again, what I want to do, truthfully, I'm not here saying if the Chiefs don't get A.J. Brown, Brett Veach has quit and should be fired. Right. But I think you've got to have, I talked about this with Nick on Monday, but I think you've got to have 15 wide receivers on a spreadsheet where you have called those teams and you have found out what would it take to acquire Marvin Harrison Jr., A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, all the way to somebody, obviously he just moved, he's not going anywhere now, to your Jacoby Myers type. I need to know what the options are there, because I don't think you just want to cannonball into free agency, and you don't want to be at a spot where you have to take a receiver at 9, because you might be at a spot where you have to take a defensive lineman at 9. So I want to acquire that information. I think I want to go in the next year with a wide receiver room that has a couple of pieces. And if they decide, hey, I'd rather pay Romeo Doubs than trade for AJ Brown, I'm open. Alec Pierce, I guess, is kind of the other one of this free agency class, right? Yep. If you're really in love, that's fine. I brought AJ Brown up again because he's back on Twitter, and his last 2 posts are him retweeting these 2 quotes. Quote, "The best revenge is to not be like your enemy." And then the next quote, "Envy no one. For whatever you see, a price was paid."
God, I love wide
He's
receiver.
Wide receiver posting. That's a number 1 wide receiver.
I love wide receivers, man. Holy cow. Where else? Where else could you get that? I just pulled up the Spot Track wide receiver like free agent list, and this is kind of to emphasize your point of like why to trade for a wide receiver. There's not a lot of like good wide receivers out there. You're talking about like Christian Kirk probably leads the way.
Woo!
And he's making $18 million right now. I assume that price is going up. Mike Evans right now he might just retire because he's coming off injury though too. He's slated to be a free agent. Debo Samuel's slated to be a free agent, but he's kind of washed. Diami Brown, you don't want to touch him.
Such a Chief.
Yeah, Tutu Atwell. Talk about Chief.
Tutu Atwell's good.
Adam Thielen retired. Hollywood Brown's a free agent. I wouldn't bring him back. I would be that breaking news team would not be very fun if they bring Hollywood
The
Brown
third
back.
year in a row. The first year I came in with a blazer and flashing multicolored lights. The
Yeah.
second year, I don't remember what we did. Year 3 would be like, okay, Hollywood, year 3. Good question from Brett Parker. Did the team even try to help Sky Moore learn how to tweet? What could have been? That's a great question, Brett. I'm
Should've
sorry
come
that
after me
Seth has
way
called you
too
an
early.
idiot so many times on the other show. I would never.
The Other Show. That's
The
good.
other show.
Maybe that's what we need, a new podcast called The Other Show.
That's when you and Nate talk about tennis for an hour once a week. Or just be anything. It can be any. Hold on. Then we have anything else is on the other show.
Yes, anything. Anything else, yeah. Tim Patrick, Josh Reynolds, Jahan Dotson, Keenan Allen, Greg Dortch. Hey, D-Hop's a free agent. Rashid Shaheed, he's a free agent.
I was just about to say, did Rashid Shaheed get paid? I was thinking that he got extended. You talk about guys also who are just like, hey, here's. I know you have Rashid Shaheed at home, but I think that there's.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I don't know. Again, I am not planting a strong flag in they've got to get AJ Brown, but I think it makes sense when you're trying to figure out if it was a move that funnily enough, I guess the Eagles, if it wasn't specifically AJ Brown, but a move that the Ravens or the Rams made. If the Rams traded for AJ Brown this offseason, everybody would go, how did we let the Rams get AJ Brown?
Yeah.
The Chiefs, frankly, have not gotten that kind of like former Patriots aura. Frankly, if the Patriots got AJ Brown for next year, but the Chiefs reclamation projects haven't really gone that way. They've had guys leave and then just kind of disappear into the annals of history. But there haven't been a lot of those acquisitions, and that's look, they've had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and they had a little bit of that with Sammy Watkins, I guess, earlier on. But that's just a place that my head's at here as we're thinking about what could be the pickup for next year. And also, none of this, to be extremely clear, I'm talking about even the 3rd round pick now is a high enough pick where it's like, if you want, hey, you want the 9th-ish, I don't know, they rotate now, I guess, but you want a early 4th round pick, and we're going to take a bunch of your AJ Brown money and make it work. That's kind of the space that I'm in. None of that is involving number 9 overall. I do see Jack the saying trade number 9 overall to the Raiders for Brock Bowers. I heard Carrington talking about this over on 96.5 a day or two ago. Lily wants Brock Bowers, and so do I. They were going through the exercise of like, is there any how many players in football would you trade number 9 overall for straight up? And I think their only answer might have been Will Anderson, which is kind of interesting because again, age is important, contract is important, the team control is important. So that's where I'm with some of the comments saying like you do not want to spend real draft assets on an older wide receiver. But I think we overestimate the market on guys who are on our fantasy football teams. I think we collectively overestimated the market on L'Jarius Sneed and Joe Thuney, like players who you know and love. Draft picks get such a premium attached to them. Brock Bowers is a very interesting one. He's going into year 3 now, right?
Yeah.
You'd have a little bit of rookie wiggle room on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I think about it for a couple of Tyler Warren, Colson Loveland looks good. Obviously, none of those guys are getting traded to the Chiefs, so it doesn't really matter, but kind of interesting.
Yeah, you'd have to think about, I don't think the 5th-year option carries over if you're traded, so...
Oh, yeah.
You would only have him for the next year, if it's this year and the next year, but... Yeah.
Okay, we've got DFizz says Bark Bowers. Renee says Bark Howlers. Jake says we're all barking for Brock Bowers. And then Moonflower says nothing else, where you only talk about Chiefs football, nothing else, no significant others, no pets, no family, just Chiefs football. I like the idea of that, of nothing else, because as soon as Lily barks, we just have to end stream.
Right.
Just like as soon as anything not explicitly Chiefs related comes out of our mouths, the show just abruptly ends.
I think that's just the Casey Laboratory.
I almost spat out my coffee. Listen, they can get silly with it sometimes.
Sure.
Not all the time. Certainly not most of the time. Sometimes. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to listen to you and Matt Verderam on that football show talk about this divisional round. I'm not going to make you also bring your fastball here. We'll talk a little bit of multimedia nonsense after another break here. But here's my official stance. I don't really believe in Buffalo, but I definitely don't believe in the Broncos.
Yeah.
I don't know if either of these teams are that good, but that's 2025, 2026. That's what the ass list is there for. There are only so many teams at all who I think are even like approaching that ass at this point, and it's the divisional round of the playoffs. I wish I was more confident in Buffalo. The Broncos can't win this game. It can't happen. I can't allow it.
I think if you would have asked me about 48 hours ago who I was polling for, I don't want to say rooting for, but like polling for in this game, I would have said Buffalo.
What?
I know. But
Are you?
No, I'm not pulling for anybody. I'm pulling for a giant meteor to fall from the sky. I'm pulling for.
Fair enough.
I'm pulling for tectonic plates to shift. I'm pulling for anything else to happen. But the way that Bills fans have already started to lay the groundwork for their excuses of why they lost the game. This was a week before the game was going to kick off, and they are laying the groundwork of being like, well, we lost already because of this, this, and this. If you have the best quarterback in the National Football League, you shouldn't be laying excuses like that. I'm just saying if it was Patrick Mahomes and he was, let's just say he had his leading receivers were like Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore. Like those were like, let's just say that. And let's just say that like his left tackle was like constantly sabotaging him and his offensive line. I mean, just hypothetically, right? His offensive line was just kind of like some Swiss cheese, and he kind of didn't really have a run game either.
Hypothetically,
let's just say that. Hypothetically, one of his top 3 wide receivers couldn't catch a ball, and he was supposed to be the deep threat. And he had another wide receiver, his 4th wide receiver, just out there running cardio, basically. Hypothetically. Yeah, and if he went into a game against Bo Nix, hypothetically, in the Broncos, it would be expected that he would pull out a victory. And the fact that it's not expected for Josh Allen, hypothetically, it's not expected for Josh Allen to go in and pull out a victory is telling. And I think that there are 2 different sets of standards and different sets of expectations for these gentlemen, and I don't think it's fair. The world's not fair. Life's not fair. And I don't think it is particularly fair to put them in the same conversation if you're going to hold them to 2 separate sets of standards.
I think that's very well said, so I'm just going to ask you an entirely different question. Who are the 2 teams playing in the AFC and NFC championship game next weekend?
If you recall, my Super Bowl pick was Jacksonville over Seattle, so that's really fun.
I had Jacksonville too. I think we're on the same page there. I went Jacksonville, LA. I think.
So you want the championship games? What you're saying?
Who are your winners? Who are your 2 winners this weekend? Bills, Broncos, and Niners, Seahawks, maybe without Sam Darnold, are your Saturday games. And then Texans at Patriots and Rams at Bears.
By the way, did you see Grant Cohn's video about Sam Darnold going on?
No.
Report? You have to see it. It's very funny.
I will.
I'm going to go Seahawks. I think Seahawks are good, and I think the Niners are just going to run out of gas, and I think that Sam Darnold's actually going to play, and it'll be okay. I think the Niners eventually are just going to run out of that devil voodoo magic that they've got going on of, like, how come they're on linebacker 73 and 74, and they are still good? Like, that's crazy. Unreal. Shout out Kyle Shanahan for that. I'm going to go Seahawks.
Saleh, I guess.
Oh, yeah, and Robert Saleh. I forgot he's a D coordinator. Maybe he's just a good coordinator, right? Maybe, like, that's the case with him. He's just a really good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, honestly, where was he a head coach again after he was a good defensive coordinator?
Jets.
Oh, yeah. What's the rule? What's the rule, Tucker?
Adjust for Jets.
You got to adjust for Jets. You could do worse than hiring Robert Saleh, I think. I'd hire Aaron Glenn right now.
True.
Just to adjust for Jets.
True. Adjust for Jets.
Okay, so you're going Seahawks.
And it's going to be cold as balls in Chicago. And I think that is the great neutralizer in that game, which makes me... I think I'm going to go with the Bears.
Let's go!
I never would have thought this. I think that Rams Seahawks would be a fun game. I think it'd be a good game. But the fact it's going to be so cold, and the fact that the Bears just don't die.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to play. I said on that football show they're going to have to play a 4-quarter game, and Matt said that's not necessarily true. The Bears play 1 quarter. And I was like, that's true, and that quarter is always the 4th quarter is what they play.
Right.
Like they play 1 quarter of football, and it's the 4th quarter. I just think that the Bears are have this pesky Bears team, and I also saw a theory that if the Bears win the Super Bowl, it'll kind of close the wrong timeline that we're in, because in 2016, remember how great things were in 2016? Like 2016 was, I feel like, the peak of society.
I've seen a lot of people posting they're like 10 years. Oh, look at 2016. I keep thinking some things changed in that year, I think.
I mean, Chainsmokers were releasing bangers. Like, music was great. I mean, we had good stuff going on in 2016. And that was when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series. And ever since 2016, when the Chicago Cubs won the World Series,
wow,
everything's kind of gone to shit. I saw this theory a little bit. And you think we can point back to there. So if the Bears win the Super Bowl, I think we get back on the right timeline. You know, I think
I'm here for it. Let's try.
Things will get fixed. Yeah, I mean, what hurts but try. So I'm gonna go Bears. I'm gonna go Seahawks Bears. On the AFC side, I think the Bills do win. I think the Bills beat Bo Nix.
I have to believe them.
And I think that the Patriots will beat the Texans, even though the Texans' defense is so good. Here's the thing. Like, I think the Texans could win the Super Bowl, truthfully. But it's C.J. Stroud is a terrorist against his own team.
Every single one of these teams, except for the Broncos, I think. Yeah, I'm going to say except for the Broncos. I'm going to rule them out even before I rule out the Niners. Yeah. All these teams could win the Super Bowl, and they could all lose this weekend.
100%. Oh, yeah. Here's the other thing. I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won the Super Bowl. Be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Like, all right, yeah, voodoo.
Yeah. So I'm going to go New England, Buffalo. That's a divisional matchup. And then I didn't do the divisional matchup on the other side, but Chicago and
I think I'm going to go AFC East versus NFC West, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Rams over the Bears there with absolutely zero confidence whatsoever. But man, it should be. I hope it get games nearly as good as Wild Card Weekend was, because these 4 games could be chaos, and these 8 teams could do anything. It's 1:00, so let's take our second break, and then we'll talk a little nonsense and get out of here.
Oh yeah.
Hey, what's happening, people? It is Benny Heist, KCSN betting analyst. And while the Chiefs may not be in the playoffs, that doesn't mean there is not plenty of action to go around for the rest of you that are still crazy fans of the National Football League. And with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, it makes every playoff moment feel bigger. So whether you're looking at individual matchups in the wild card, or for a possible Super Bowl matchup, or for futures come postseason time, DraftKings has your back. And they also have your back with early exit protection. If the player in your eligible NFL prop goes down at any point in the first half, guess what? You can still get paid in cash. What an opportunity. What a way to be able to enjoy the playoffs and not worry about anybody that you include in those props going down, especially early on, and ruining the rest of all of your legs. So here's what you do. You download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code KCSN, that is code KCSN, to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Remember, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino in Kansas, wager tax pass-through may apply in Illinois. You must be 21 plus in most states, void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Let's hit a little bit of multimedia nonsense here, Tucker. We're gonna eventually just have some time, and we're gonna do like a real movie topic. Oh, you know what? No, we need to get the Chungus update.
We don't have to.
I do want to get the Chungus update. I was going to have you talk about Marty Supreme, and I was going to mention Animal Crossing. Let's do this. Let me talk about Animal Crossing. You give us the Chungus update. We're going to save our movie talk for probably Monday, unless we get, Chiefs offensive coordinator news or whatever.
You got a lot of Yorgos movies in there, too, that I'd like to talk about as well. So.
Okay, good. Okay, I want to make sure we have enough time for this, and that's completely within my control. It's just a matter of how long does it take for me to talk about the same 6 Chiefs topics we've been talking about for a month, and the answer is always 58 minutes. The Animal Crossing 3.0 update, a massive surprise when it was announced because Nintendo had said they were done releasing new Animal Crossing updates. Psych! There's a new one now. They have added a hotel. This is a free update on every Switch 1, Switch 2, Switch Lite. There's a hotel that is very much like the Happy Home Designer DLC, which does make it a tiny bit confusing. That was paid DLC, or you had to have Switch Online, I think. I enjoy that aspect of it. You get like a prompt and you can pick all these things to decorate your rooms with, and you're building this hotel, and more villagers will come in. They'll spend a day on your island. They'll have their room. They'll wander around your island. It's a nice excuse to hop back in a little bit, and I've now spent a couple of days back in Animal Crossing because it's just been a very long time since I've genuinely really played that. I hopped in for a little bit when they announced the update was coming, just to kind of see what the state of my island was. And all of my villagers were like, wow, it's been 18 months since we've heard from you. And it was like, thanks, guys. I've been pretty busy. But hop back in now, and it's like, hey, man, it's been 2 months since you've been here. Like, stop complaining. Remember how long I was gone last time? Right, The game is still good. I was greedily hoping for a new Animal Crossing sometime around the Switch 2 launch. I think this means we are still a very long time away from whenever the next Animal Crossing comes around. But there's some good quality of life updates, and Rossetti is back. If you know Animal Crossing, you know who that is. And if you don't, it couldn't matter less. But if you're thinking, I'd like to go back in, but I'd like to basically clean my island out, but not lose all of the catalog progress you may have, or not lose the villagers that you have, now Rossetti is available. He'll say, hey, don't even worry about it. I'll wipe this island down for you. I'll put all your stuff in storage, and then you can start designing again from scratch. That's what Renee did. I ended up keeping most of my progress and just kind of remodeling as I go. It's a good game. It's a good game, good video game. It hit differently in, the peak of some unprecedented times, if you will. But it's still excellent. And if you've been wondering about going back in, that's my suggestion is hop back in. Don't worry about the guilt from your villagers. It's a fun time. Animal Crossing 3.0. What a time to be alive.
I haven't really dove into. I started Animal Crossing, but then the season started, and then I haven't really gotten back into it. And I was playing it on the Xbox, which I feel like is a lot different than
You're playing it on the Xbox?
Yeah, you can play it on the Xbox.
What?
Yeah, I feel like it's a lot different experience. It's a lot less intimate, I feel like, than what the.
Were you playing Animal Crossing with like a K? Were you playing a Roblox Animal Crossing game?
No.
Which Animal Crossing were you playing?
Sorry, I got the game mixed up. I remember what game I was actually playing.
You were playing Stardew Valley on the Xbox.
Yeah, that's
there. We go. We got there. Okay.
I get those games mixed up in my head so much. I don't know why.
Understandable. Because they're for the same people, and I am those people, and Renee is those people, and the overlap of those games very, very close, and both excellent. Also, Megan says, have we seen the trailer for Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die? It sounded familiar, so I Googled it. I'm now looking at the poster. I think maybe I saw the trailer briefly somewhere, but I'm gonna fire this up somewhere, Megan. Appreciate the recommendation. Looks weird and funky, and I'm very much intrigued by it. And I've learned nothing about who it's by, but the poster and title alone are like, yeah, this seems like a movie for me. Tucker! How's Chungus doing? Let me get an update on those Chungus files. I don't know if you saw earlier, you told an excellent story about why you weren't wearing your hoodie because you didn't want to get Chungus on your hoodie and all of that. And then my mom asked the question that I'm sure many people asked, who is Chungus?
Chungus is Tara and I's sourdough starter that I started on January the 4th, I believe. That would have been the same day as the Chiefs' last football game. And
Independence Day.
Yeah, Independence Day. And half Independence Day. My half birthday is the 1st of January. Did you know that? Fun
I
fact.
didn't know that.
First day of the year, and my birthday is actually the exact middle point of the year.
That's kind of excellent, actually.
July the 1st, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like that a lot.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
sorry. Back to Chungus. That
Good
one's my
birthday.
fault.
I like my birthday. Hot take. Chungus is doing good. Our house is cold. We've had a pretty significant temperature drop in Kansas City in terms of just like how the weather has been. And we typically keep our house colder anyway in the winter just because that's where we're a little bit more comfortable in colder temperatures. Just throw a hoodie on, right?
Yep.
Get a blanket,
I got my window cracked in here right now just because it gets a little toasty when I'm boxed in for a show. Sometimes I got to let a little cool air in.
So I've been starting the Chungus files, which I've been documenting the process of starting a sourdough starter. When I expressed interest in starting a sourdough starter, the amount of people that were like, "Hey," Lily too was just like, "Hey, you need to get us we'll get a starter from somebody, and then you can get going." And I was like, "No, if I want to do this, I'm going to do this the whole way. I want to start the starter." Which, I mean, look, it's a labor-intensive process. It is a process of love, and I do enjoy it. It's just flour and water. I've been chronicling it on my Instagram and TikTok. A couple days behind on the video posting, but all the videos have been done. And he's growing. He's doing really well. It's just a lot slower than his peak time is a lot slower than what typically would be because it is only 66 degrees, 65 degrees in our house, which typically you want it around 72 to or 75 to about 82 degrees for really good growth there for the yeast to kind of feed off and ferment on. I fed it just before I hopped on here, as I mentioned, and it didn't grow as much yesterday as I would have liked it to, but I did a little bit smaller of a feeding. It seems to really thrive in bigger feedings when I do a 1 to 5 to 5, which is one starter, it's 25 grams, and then 5 as your flour and 5 is your water. It creates a thicker mix there. Then the starter has a lot more yeast to break down, and you could probably go especially in these colder temperatures, you can go a day and a half without feeding it after it hits its peak. But it's active and it's going. I'm curious to see how it reacts with these colder temperatures really coming into Kansas City here too. And I might end up having to get a warming mat or a warming something to put it on just to kind of keep it going. What I did do today is I went with lukewarm water. What I've been doing is just room temperature water. So I put it in the microwave for a little bit, and then I had to Google what lukewarm actually is temperature wise. It's 90 to 110, in that range there, which a little bit warmer than I would have thought it would have been. But so I did that, and he was a lot warmer when I put it back up on the fridge. And that was a shout out my Aunt Terry for that one, for that tip that she said she saw online and said that. Texted Tara. It's Tara's aunt, but I call her my Aunt Terry anyway too. But she texted Tara and was like, "Hey, I saw this online, and you should definitely tell Tucker to try this." And I was like, "All right, well, I'm gonna try it." I put it on top of the fridge, and that seems to help it because of fridges. You know what's really interesting about refrigerators? They don't really cool anything. They just take the hot air away from stuff.
Okay, hold on. We're gonna need a second hour. We're gonna need a second hour of this show today. Hold on.
Yeah.
A fridge doesn't cool stuff.
Not really.
It just takes the heat away.
Yeah.
I'm just really sitting with that one I'm meditating on that.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's more of I think there's a life metaphor there, too.
It was kind of like the zebra thing. Is it white stripes, black stripes? Does it matter? How does air conditioning work? Is air conditioning is blowing in cool air? Is it? Or is it sucking out warm air, or kind of both?
I think air conditioners blow out cooler, but I just Googled it. A fridge works by taking advantage of the fact that if you heat a gas up and then allow it to cool, when you let the gas expand, it will be colder. They work by moving heat from inside to outside using a continuous cycle of refrigerant that absorbs heat as it evaporates and releases it as it condenses, driven by a compressor and circulated through coils.
Jake in the chat says a fridge is 100% a heater, and as Ronson Trait said, Seth voice, interesting. Now Jake says, now hold on. Now Jake says air conditioner is the reverse of fridges. But I would have said it until 2 minutes ago that air conditioner and fridges do basically the same thing in a box or in a big box, because this is what I call my house. I call my house the big box.
The big box, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The big box that I live in.
It is very
fascinating.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, I guess I understand when it's colder, it's because it's less hot. And when it's hot, it's because it's less cold. Or does the world point towards hot? Or does the world point towards cold? Does that matter?
See, this is again of just like, if the sun, this is the question that, I've thought about this sometimes, and then I realize that I'm stupid. If the sun's hot, why is space cold?
Atmosphere.
Sure. I mean,
that's all I got. That was I thought about it. I was trying to decide if I was either going to if I just had to let that question exist, because I was like, that is a good question. If sun hot, why sky cold?
Mm-hmm.
Sun hot, sky closer to sun.
Right.
Sun hot. Space cold. Vacuum of space cold.
Why do the mountains have snow on top of them if they're closer to the sun?
I don't think I know the answer to that one either.
Is it because there's lava underneath us?
Yes. Yes. That I can say with confidence. The answer to that is yes.
Okay.
Okay, so Moonflower says space cold, lack of atmosphere. I was on the right track there. Same for high elevations. Why? Follow-up question. Why? Follow-up question.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah.
Follow-up question. Explain it like in a way that I would understand.
I will say Jake Dennis did say that I should get a mat. I'm probably on Amazon when this gets done going to order a mat, or like, because also when you ferment like dough, like when you want to do your bulk fermentation, when you're making an actual loaf, you also need it to be at temperature as well. So dual purpose.
It's always got to
that.
be a temperature. Everything has to be a temperature.
Right. Sure. So it serves a dual purpose, right? So it's not only for the starter, keeping the starter to getting to that ideal temperature. It'll also help in the bulk fermentation process to help with the dough get up to where it needs to be, and with the fermentation.
Ice Pyro says less air equals less heat to attach to. If you're at elevation, there's less
oxygen.
Oxygen? Is that the same as less air?
So wait a second. Is air just oxygen? Because
no,
because there's like nitrogen in it, right?
And you're also breathing out.
There's for sure carbon
dioxide. Yep. I got hung up at the exact same spot. I was like, nope. I think that's right. It's been a long time since I've been in a science class, folks. I'm starting to understand how Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader works. I used to watch that show when I was like an eighth grader, and it was like, I know all of these things, and now I'm 31, and now I'm going, I don't know.
Okay, so this Reddit thread from 3 years ago says,
finally, a real answer. An answer I can trust.
How can Earth's air be made up of just 21% oxygen? Which is a great question. The other percentages are nitrogen, actually. Fun fact.
Sorry, how much? Sorry. Read that one more time, please.
How can the Earth's air be made up of just 21% oxygen?
21. I was so excited that the rest of the atmosphere was 69% something else, but that is incorrect. That would only get you to 90%.
Yeah.
So it's 70.
According to this Quora,
Nice.
Quora, is that how you say it?
Quora. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 78% is nitrogen and 21% is oxygen. But why do we breathe oxygen, not nitrogen? Is what
I guess we're breathing it all. It's just what we're using, probably.
Sure. Yeah, I would assume. Okay, here's Wikipedia. By mole fraction, that is quantity of molecules. Dry air contains...
Now we're getting into mole fractions. I got a groundhog out back. I can see what about squirrel fractions?
I can ask about rodent fractions. See if we can get any of those.
Hold on, my window's cracked open. There's a squirrel right here. Hey, squirrel! Why colder when closer to sun? Hey, squirrels! One of them's getting closer. One of them's coming over here, Tucker. I'm not kidding.
He's gonna want to come on the pod. He's gotta let you know.
Hey, you want to be on the podcast? You want to be the first squirrel to ever speak on a podcast?
That'd be
Whatever language. English would be great, just for our audience. Predominant. Oh, you're in a way. Okay, well.
So
the mystery continues.
Dry air contains 78.08% nitrogen, 20.95% oxygen, 0.93% argon, 0.04% carbon dioxide, and a small amounts of other trace gases.
Analytics are ruining everything. I can't follow.
I mean, sabermetrics are just...
The sabermetrics are out of control right now. You know what I care about? Cool stuff, like lightsaber metrics.
Krypton's in the air. How do you know? I did not know that. I didn't know that was real. I thought it was fake.
No, that's what Tom Brady was selling everybody on for a while, and all of the Super Bowl commercials that one year were all about Krypton currency.
Oh, that's what they did the big scam on, right? That guy got busted and got thrown in jail for Krypton currency.
Yeah, it was Krypton currency scams, and that's actually why Superman came to stop it.
Did you have to use Krypton to buy those NPCs? You know, those little pictures.
Yeah, you used Krypton to buy NPCs.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, the little monkeys. You know, those little monkeys that people would buy. Do people still have those? Let me look.
I'm guessing people still have them.
NFT.
I don't think that's right.
Oh, no, it is NPC. I was right the first time.
This is a good point from Ron. Crazy the power of Chungus is in all things for us to get from Chungus to the sabermetrics of the universe. This entire conversation has been under the umbrella of the Chungus files.
Yeah, because we started talking about fridges, how they're actually hot. If you put, because I put Chungus on top of the fridge, and it's actually warm up there.
Why not put it in the fridge if the fridge is for hot? Or should you put it under the fridge? Will that help?
I don't know. I'm lost.
Well, this has been a non-fungible podcast for at least 15 minutes, and I can't think of a better time to wrap it up than right this second. This squirrel is back, but he's not sharing his secrets, so I hope you enjoy a weekend of divisional football. Don't feel like you have to do any division, because I'm certainly not going to. Divisional round football, not mandating that you do any math. In fact, just by listening to this show today, you've done your math for the week. Congratulations.
I low-key kind of enjoyed long division, not going to lie. Low-key kind of enjoyed it.
Wow, that's crazy.
Like the process, yeah.
I haven't done long division in quite a while. Oh, man, if we want to be really vulnerable at some point this spring or summer, we'll just do some. I promise I won't practice. And maybe we just do
trig
some
in high school, and I don't know if I could ever No, I took some pretty high math classes. I didn't have to take math in college. I did all my math in high school, and I took college level trig in high school, and I could not tell you anything about trigonometry now.
Okay, so you're going to do some trig, I'm going to do some long division, and we're going to have the answers to those questions before we have the answer of who is the Chiefs' offensive coordinator going to be in 2026.
Yep.
There we go. Moonflower says, thanks, guys, for an educational episode. Long live Chungus. Long live Chungus, indeed. Thank you all for being here for a... I would say an all-encompassing edition of everything else. For Tucker Franklin, I am Joshua Brisco. Enjoy your weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Till then, bye, Mom! Ronson Trey says short division is just as good. It gets the job done. At least that's what I hear.
It's not the... I don't think it's the length of the division that matters. It's how you use the numbers.
The messed up thing is if you'd have been like, Josh, what was your most impressive feat in college? I think it might have been that I got 104 in my chemistry class.
Wow.
I did all the extra credit because I was and always have been and still am a tryhard. Mm-hmm. And I'm afraid of failure. So if I have a 95, but I could get to 105, well, then I have a little wiggle room on the final.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if my chemistry teacher heard the last 15 minutes of this episode, I feel like they could legally revoke my diploma.
Yeah, retroactively take some action.
Yeah. I think, and I wouldn't even be able to argue it.
My biggest academic achievement was my freshman year of college when, when you figure out you actually well, you think you don't have any ramifications for your actions, and then like later on you're just like, oh, my actions do have consequences, and no one is like holding you accountable to like go to class.
Yeah.
My professor for my geology class, shout out Raj, he had to go back to Nepal because his father had passed, and so he was like, I'm gonna have a long-term sub for you guys. And first day of class, I walked in and was like, hey, I didn't get the sign-in sheet. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to take attendance. And I said, well, I'm not coming to this class anymore. And so I didn't go. And then somebody from the class, I didn't go for like months, man. I'm telling you, months. Raj didn't come back for that semester, I remember. And someone texted me like, hey, we have a test right now. Like, come and take it. And I was like, oh, okay. And this was like a week before the final. This was like, and so I went and I got it. Got a B on the test. Didn't know anything. And then the final I got like a D in, but like it didn't matter. I still passed the class.
Tucker D. Franklin.